Chaos engineering. Sounds kind of dramatic, right? But what if I told you it's the very thing that keeps our digital world from, well, falling apart? It's this powerful and frankly counterintuitive science that we're diving into.
I mean, just think about it. Everything you do online, from streaming movies to managing your bank account, relies on this massive web of super complex digital services. We're talking millions of lines of code running on thousands of servers, all talking to each other over networks that are, let's be honest, far from perfect. So the whole foundation is by its very nature incredibly fragile. So if everything is so delicate, you gotta wonder, why isn't stuff breaking all the time? Why aren't we seeing catastrophic outages every single day? Well, the answer is pretty fascinating. It required a complete, radical shift in how we think about failure itself. To really get this, you have to accept one core idea. In today's huge cloud-based systems, things are going to break. It's not an if, it's a when. Failure is an absolute inevitability. Engineers figured out that trying to prevent every single little component from ever failing is just a losing battle. The real goal, the smarter goal, is to build systems that can take a hit and keep on ticking. For years, engineers kind of operated on some flawed assumptions. They're famously known as the 8 fallacies of distributed systems. Basically, they built things assuming the network is always perfect, that data travels instantly, and that bandwidth is endless. But we all know that's not how the real world works, right? Networks get flaky, there's always a delay, and bandwidth has limits. Chaos engineering was basically born to force everyone to confront these hard truths. And the origin story for this whole discipline? It starts with a company we all know and love, Netflix. But their journey into chaos wasn't sparked by some brilliant idea in a lab. Nope. It was sparked by a painful, real-world disaster that took their entire DVD shipping business offline for 3 whole days. Yep. Back in 2008, a massive database corruption was their wake-up call. It pushed them to move from one giant old-school system to a distributed one in the cloud. The thing is, the cloud was unpredictable. So in 2010, to get ready for that unpredictability, they built a tool to create their own. By 2012, they shared that tool with the world, and boom, a revolution began. And that tool had the perfect name, Chaos Monkey. Its job was simple, and at the time, absolutely terrifying. It would randomly shut down servers in their live production environment, right in the middle of the business day. The idea was to make failure a constant, routine event. It's like a vaccine for your software, right? You introduce a small, controlled weakness to build up a powerful immunity against a much larger, uncontrolled disaster. Now, the name chaos engineering is, funnily enough, a bit of a misnomer. It sounds totally reckless, but the practice is the exact opposite. It's not about breaking things randomly for fun. It's about conducting these methodical, scientific experiments to find weaknesses before your customers do. So let's look at the official definition. The key words here are experimenting and building confidence. That's the whole game. The goal is to generate new information about your system and turn that vague hope that it's reliable into an actual, proven fact. This really highlights the core difference. Think about it. Traditional testing is all about the happy path. It confirms that when you click a button, the system does what it's supposed to. Great. Chaos engineering, though, is about exploring the unhappy paths. It verifies that when things inevitably go wrong, the entire system doesn't just fall over in a catastrophic way. And this whole practice is built on 4 core principles. First, you have to define what normal looks like with real data. Second, your experiments have to mimic realistic failures. Third, to get real confidence, you eventually have to test in your live production environment. And finally, you automate these experiments because a system that was solid yesterday might not be after tomorrow's software update. So how do you actually do this stuff safely? I mean, it's not about just flipping a switch and hoping for the best. Every single chaos experiment follows a very clear, structured process that's designed to maximize what you learn while minimizing the risk. It's pretty much the scientific method, just applied to software. You start by planning. You make a hypothesis, like, okay, I believe that if we take down one server, our users won't notice because traffic will just reroute. Then you execute the experiment by carefully taking down that one server, and finally, you analyze. Did reality match what you expected? That's where the real learning happens. And the most important rule of all is this one. Minimize the blast radius. That means you start small. You don't take down an entire data center on day one. No way. You might start by affecting just 1% of traffic, or a single server, or maybe you run the test in a safe staging area first. Safety is the foundation that makes this whole thing work.
And this requires a massive cultural shift. In traditional testing, a test that fails is a bad thing. But in chaos engineering, an experiment that breaks the system, that's a huge success. Why? Because you've just discovered a hidden vulnerability in a controlled way. It gives you a chance to fix it before it causes a real customer-facing outage. You found the problem before they did.
So, how does this all connect back to you? Well, this discipline, born out of a crisis at Netflix, is now a mature practice. It's used by major tech companies all over the world to make sure the services you use every day stay online and stay reliable.
And the tools have evolved way beyond the original Chaos Monkey. Today, there's a whole rich ecosystem. You've got powerful open source tools like Litmus Chaos, commercial platforms like Gremlin for big companies, and even the major cloud providers like AWS offer their own services. It's easier than ever to get started. Which brings us to our final thought. As our world becomes more and more dependent on these incredibly complex systems, reliability isn't just a nice-to-have feature anymore. It's the foundation of trust. Proactively searching for weakness isn't just a good idea, it's an essential practice. So the real question isn't whether we should introduce chaos, but can we really afford not to?